In this class, I explain about genetically modified crops. Genetically modified crops are plants used in agriculture, the DNA of which has been modified using genetic engineering methods. Plant genomes can be engineered by physical methods or by use of agrobacterium for the delivery of sequences hosted in tDNA binary vectors. In most cases, the aim is to introduce a new trait to the plant does not occur naturally in the species. Examples in food crops include resistance to certain pest diseases, environmental conditions, reduction of spoilage, and resistance to chemical treatment, or improving the nutrient profile of the crops. Examples in non-food crops include production of pharmaceutical agents, biofuels, and other industrially useful goods as well as for bioremediation. In 1996, genetically modified crops were grown in 6 countries. In 2009, the number of the countries using genetically modified crops increased to 25. In the year 2019 marks the 24th year of commercialization of biotech crops, and the number of the countries using genetically modified crops had increased to number 29. And some examples of genetically modified crops are listed below. Genetically modified corn that are resistant to larval pest. Second one, genetically modified soya beans that are resistant to weed killers like Roundup. And third one, genetically modified maize used as animal feed, high fructose corn syrup. And fourth one, genetically modified cotton. This has been approved in India along with 9 other nations. And fifth one, genetically modified canola used as cooking oil and emulsifier in packaged foods. And how genetically modified crops are made. Genetically modification is a technology that involves inserting DNA into the genome of an organism to produce a genetically modified plant. New plant is transferred into cells of a plant. These cells are then grown in tissue culture where they transfer into plants. The seed produced by these plants will have new DNA. The most common way of inserting is using gene gun method. The other genetic engineering techniques are electroporation, microinjection, and agrobacterium. There are 3 main types of genetic modifications. They are first one transgenic, second one cisgenic, and third one subgeneric. First one transgenic. Transgenic. The plants have genes inserted into them that are derived from other species that called as transgenic. And cisgenic. Plants are made using genes of the same species or closely related, that is cisgenic. and subgeneric alter genetic makeup of a plant without incorporating genes from other plants. That is subgeneric. And next one is, what is the purpose of genetically modified crops? The multiple purpose behind genetically modified crops are higher yields and nutritional value, enhanced nutritional value, and longer shelf life, and increase resistance to drought, and increase resistance to insect and pest, and increased resistance to herbicides. And global genetically modified crop cultivation. The top 5 genetically modified crops growing countries are USA, second Brazil, third Argentina, fourth one India, and fifth one Canada. These countries together account for approximately 90% of area of the genetically modified cultivation. Soybean, maize, cotton, and canola with herbicide tolerance and insect resistance are the major genetically modified crops grown around the world. Impact of genetically modified crops. In the period of 23 years, about 17 million farmers, mostly from the developing countries, adopted biotech crops, which in turn improved their socio-economic status. Apart from the economic benefits, usage of genetically modified crops has also contributed to food security, sustainable development, and climate change mitigation. Those benefits are: it increased crop productivity by 822 million tons, and conserving biodiversity by saving 231 million hectares of land. And adaptation of genetically modified crops has provided a safer environment by saving 776 million kg of pesticides from being released into the environment. And genetically modified crops have been helpful in reducing CO2 emission by 23 billion kg. And next topic is, what are the advantages of genetically modified crops? The benefit experienced by the developed world by usage of genetically modified crops are higher crop yielding and reduced farm cost and increased farm profit and safer to environment and more nutritional food. And the feature of first generation crop such as insect resistance and herbicide tolerance have proven their ability to lower farm level production cost. And next is the feature of second generation genetically modified crops include increased nutritional and or industrial traits. These crops have more direct benefits to consumers. And examples of commercialized second generation crops includes non-browning apples and non-brownish and low acrylamide potatoes, and maize varieties with low phytic acid and increased essential amino acids, and healthier oils from soybean and canola, and other genetically modified crops in the research and regulatory pipeline includes rice enriched with iron, vitamin A and E and lysine, and insect resistance eggplant, and potatoes with higher starch content and insulin, and edible vaccine in maize, and allergen free nuts. And next topic is, what are the disadvantages of genetically modified crops? First one, allergies, other anti-nutritional factors in foods, and resistance to antibiotics, and it causes sometimes cancer. And genetically modified crops and the environment. Environmental benefits. It reduces the chemical pesticides use of 37%, and reduction in the release of greenhouse gas emission from agriculture, and potential risk. Genetically modified crops may create new weeds through outcrossing with wild relatives, or simply by persisting in the wild themselves. Outcrossing means it is a term which refers to the unintentional breeding of a domestic crop with a related plant. That's about the genetically modified crops. Thank you.